Today's story is Once Upon a World, Snow White. Once upon a time, there was a princess called Snow White. She lived in a magnificent castle with her stepmother, a beautiful but wicked queen. Each day, the queen would ask her magic mirror, "Who is the fairest in the land?" "You are," the mirror would answer. Until one day, "Snow White is the fairest of them all," said the mirror. The queen was suddenly very jealous of Snow White. She ordered her servant to do away with the princess at once. The queen's servant led Snow White deep into the forest, but he had a change of heart. He warned Snow White about the queen. He told the princess to run far, far away. Soon, night fell. Snow White walked alone through a very dark forest. Just as the sun began to peek through the trees, she came upon a little cottage. It was filled with little teacups and little lanterns and even little beds. Who lived in the tiny house? The princess was so tired that she fell fast asleep. When Snow White awoke, there were 7 little sets of eyes watching her. They belonged to the 7 dwarves. The dwarves were kind, and they agreed to help Snow White hide from the evil queen. The next day, the dwarves had to leave the cottage. "Do not let anyone in," they warned the princess. But the queen had discovered where Snow White was. She came to the cottage disguised as an old woman selling apples. "Come, my dear," said the queen in her disguise. "I will give you the best apple from my basket." Snow White remembered the dwarf's warning, but when she peeked out and saw that it was just an old woman, she opened the door. The evil queen gave the princess a shiny red apple. Snow White took a small bite. Suddenly, she fell down, poisoned. The queen laughed wickedly. "Only true love's kiss can wake you," she said, and then ran away. When the dwarves came home, they found Snow White. They quickly put her into bed. Then, one night, there was a terrible storm. A prince was walking through the forest when he came upon the little cottage. He hoped whoever lived there would give him shelter. The 7 dwarves gladly took in the prince. Then they told him about the sleeping princess. The prince asked to see Snow White. When he saw her, he knew he loved her. He gave her a kiss. Snow White suddenly opened her eyes. The prince's love for her was true, and it had broken the spell. Snow White thanked the dwarves for all their help. Together, she and the prince returned to the prince's kingdom. There, they lived happily ever after.